Good day, everyone. Welcome to our session, and today we are going to have a wonderful discussion in which we are going to tackle an incredible article. I am Ben Harbasa from BSED English 2A, and together with my partner, we'll be presenting one of the most interesting cases in language learning. Before we begin, I'd like you to introduce my partner, Roger Sagaron, who will help me explain, and later on, as we dive deeper to our topic, he will justify to you on how our theories connected to real classroom solutions. Now, have you ever heard someone say, "That's more better," during a debate? And then everyone freezes. Half the class laughs, while the speaker just shrugs and keeps on going. That simple phrase, "more better," captures a deeper issue in language learning. It's not just grammar gone wrong, it's what happens when fluency and accuracy collide under pressure. Language isn't just about knowing the rules. It's also about how the brain, environment, and interaction shape our speech. That's exactly what our featured article, More Better and Friends, is all about. How fluency and accuracy sometimes clash, especially when learners just speak spontaneously. Today, we'll explore this issue using four major theories of language learning. Number one, we have behaviorism theory, the cognitive theory, the nativist theory, and as well as the interactionist theory. And let's transform this into practical classroom strategies suited for Filipino learners. Let's diagnose the problem first. In debate or oral recitation, students often say, "more better," "more faster," or "more easiest." Why? When students debate or speak in public, they focus more on delivering their message quickly than on following those grammar rules. This happens because of cognitive overload. The brain is multitasking, thinking, organizing ideas, and performing under stress. The theory that best explains this phenomenon is cognitive theory. According to it, when students experience cognitive overload, too many mental tasks at once, they temporarily lost control of grammar rules. The brain focuses more on meaning and less on form. So now, our task as teachers is to help those students balance fluency and accuracy without discouraging their confidence to speak. Now, let's come up with a plan on how we are going to solve this problem. To address this issue effectively, we'll apply four major theories, which we have behaviorism, cognitive theory, nativist theory, and interactionist theory, each with a practical classroom strategy. First up, we have the behaviorism theory. We can use positive reinforcement. For example, whenever students self-correct their grammar during debate practice, the teacher praises or rewards them. This helps them form correct linguistic habits through repetition and encouragement. Second, we have the cognitive theory. We can use error analysis and reflection. After each debate, students listen to recordings of their speech and then identify where they slip, like saying "more better." This strengthens awareness and helps store correct structures in long-term memory. Third, we have the nativist theory. Recognizing that students have an innate capacity for language, the teacher can provide rich linguistic input. For instance, through modeling accurate structures, the teacher frequently and naturally uses comparative forms like better, worse, more beautiful during classroom discussions. And for the last one, we have the interactionist theory. Promote peer feedback and real communication. Let students work in pairs, correcting each other's grammar, while debating, interaction, and negotiation of meaning can help them internalize correct patterns in authentic use. This time, let's integrate these four theories into a short 5-step plan. Here's how we can combine these four theories. Step 1, we have the warm-up, the behaviorism theory. Before the debate, the teacher conducts a short grammar warm-up. Students practice comparative and superlative forms through quick oral drill sentence transformations or short writing prompts. The teacher provides immediate correction and positive feedback, reinforcing usage like better instead of more better. Here's an example. The teacher calls on a student. Okay, finish this sentence. Online learning is blank than traditional learning. Then the student answers, more better. And the teacher quickly corrects, it's just better. No need for more. The class repeats the correct version together. This kind of conditions learners to automatically recognize and correct the error before it becomes habitual. Step 2. We have the mini input story which is in the nativist theory. Next, students are exposed to authentic examples of debates or speeches with accurate grammar usage. This could be a short video, a transcript, or even a teacher-modeled sample argument. Students observe how fluent speakers use comparatives naturally in context. It's students like debate video from platforms like TED or YouTube. The teacher pauses at points where debaters use comparative forms correctly. For example, the policy is more effective than the previous one. Students identify the structure and record examples in their notebooks. By observing natural, fluent speech, students subconsciously absorb accurate patterns, strengthening their innate grammar intuition. And now we are going down to the step 3, which is the controlled practice in the cognitive theory. Students then write and rehearse short debate arguments using comparative forms. The teacher guides them to consciously check their sentences for errors and think about why certain forms are correct. For example, a student writes, face-to-face learning is more better than online learning. With teacher guidance, the class analyzes why more better is incorrect and rewrites it as face-to-face learning is better than online learning. Step 4, which is in the communicative practice of the interactionist theory. The teacher assigns roles such as speakers, moderators, and grammar observers. During the debate, students focus on expressing ideas freely but also monitor their accuracy. After each round, peers and the teacher give feedback on grammar, noting improvements and recurring errors. For example, this time, during a ductual classroom debate, the teacher can assign 3 key roles. First role, which is here, we have the debaters. Debaters focuses on fluency while maintaining accuracy. Second role, which is the grammar observers. They note every comparative or superlative use. And then we have the moderators. They manage time and transitions. Let's put it in a situation. For example, during a round, a debater says, our proposal is more easier to implement. A grammar observer notes it down and later gives feedback. Then later, you said more easier. It should be easier. This interactive process transforms grammar from an isolated rule into a practical communication tool. It also mirrors real-life speaking context where students must juggle clarity, persuasion, and correctness simultaneously. And now, onto our final step, we have the reflection and reward, the cognitive plus behaviorist integration. After the debate, students complete a short reflection. For example, what grammar mistakes did I make? What improvement did I notice? Then the teacher gives small rewards or recognition for improvement. Maybe a grammar star, badge, or a shout out. This reinforces good performance behaviorally and cognitively. With the end of the session, students not only speak with more confidence but also show clear control of comparative grammar. And that's how the four theories come together in one integrated plan. But how do we know it really works? And what results can we expect from it? To explain that further, I'll turn it over to my partner, Rog Rosagaran, who will discuss our justification and predictions for this classroom approach.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Basa. Now that we've tackled about the diagnosis, about our plan and how we blended those four theories in one intervention. And now let's proceed to the next task, which is justifying our approach, predicting its results, and identifying the potential risk, and also with its solutions. Now let's explain why this plan works and what outcomes we expect. Okay, firstly, this plan works because we have first behaviorism theory. With this theory, it helps strengthens the accuracy through habitual drills and consistent feedback, whether it's for negative or for positive feedback. Secondly, we have cognitive theory. With this theory, it focuses on how the brain processes, or it helps brain process language. Sometimes in debates, students, although students know about the grammar rule, but because they are thinking so fast, their brain gets overloaded. That's why they accidentally say more better. So for cognitive theory, it trains the mind to recall the right rule even under pressure. Third, we have nativist theory. With this theory, it ensures learners receive a rich and correct input for internal grammar development. So it means this theory believes that we are naturally capable of learning language as long as we receive rich and correct input. When we expose students to accurate English through videos, for example, through videos, they naturally absorb correct patterns. Yeah. Okay. Next is we have interactionist theory. With this theory, it ensures that grammar is practiced in real communication or in real life situations, not just basic drills. So basically, this theory says we learn language best through real communication and social interaction. Okay, so by blending all these four theories, we balance both fluency and accuracy. From this approach, we expect two measurable outcomes. A 50% reduction in comparative errors after 4 sessions, for instance from 30% down to 15%. Next, an improvement in accuracy during timed oral task from 60% to 80%. This can be observed through classroom recordings and comparison tests. However, there's one possible issue, and this is students might feel embarrassed when that student is being corrected in front of others, or too focused on winning debates instead of using correct grammar. So to fix this, the teacher should use gentle feedback. For example, sending private notes, or also the sandwich feedback method. The praise, the correction, and the praise. Teacher can also allow short Taglish transitions at first to reduce anxiety. Then gradually shift to full English as students gain confidence, just like how our teachers letting us use script during oral presentation or during reports, but only in the first place until we eventually let go of that script, just like that. Okay, to conclude, More Better and Friends reminds us that mistakes are not failure, but it is a proof that learning is in progress. By blending the four major theories, which are behaviorist, cognitive, nativist, and interactionist theory, teachers can create classrooms where students are both fluent and accurate, confident to speak English correctly, and confident to speak English correctly even under pressure. So fluency may make us sound good, but accuracy makes us sound better. So that's all for now. Thank you.
In the end, a question has still remained in our heads. How do we balance fluency with accuracy? So how do we balance accuracy with fluency? We do it by helping our students speak with courage and learn with care. Fluency gives them the voice to express themselves, while accuracy shapes that voice with meaning and truth. When both, when both work hand in hand, our learners don't just speak English. They communicate with confidence, clarity, and heart. Fluency make us sound good, but accuracy makes us sound better. That will be all. Thank you.